And you've written that in a world where there are a lot of possible threats, that as with other hazards, the best strategy for dealing with uncertainty is gathering information to assess the magnitude of the danger. That sounds like it's the mission of the intelligence community, to go out and gather the facts to identify what our national security policy should be. What's the intelligence community's role in correcting the politicians' tendency to overemphasize threat?
Well, ideally, threat assessments coming from the intelligence community would be sort of rigorously factual and not beholden to political interests that want an alarmist or even a overly non-alarmist or Pollyannish view. But of course, that's difficult in reality when you have an intelligence community that by design and sensibly is a creature of democratic politics, however much we insulate it as a civil service, series of civil service bureaucracies from the pull and push of day-to-day politics. It can't be totally remote from the political forces in the United States. Otherwise, it would be an enemy of the Congress and would be defunded. So, but ideally, yeah, the job of the intelligence community would be to speak truth to power, at least the other power, and say, well, that threat's not 10 feet tall, it's 2 feet tall. And there are examples, certainly, in U.S. history of that happening.
So in February 2014, when the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, came to the Senate to give the worldwide threat briefing, here's what he said. Looking back over my now more than half a century in intelligence, I've not experienced the time when we've been beset by more crises and threats around the globe. Now, of course, if you go back more than 50 years, you're talking the height of the Cold War. Do you think we face that kind of a threat today?
No, certainly not. The Cold War was a circumstance, or maybe there are more crises today, but they're way smaller. I mean, it requires a very capacious definition of crises. I mean, in the Cold War you had, at least in the early 60s, the Berlin crisis and the Cuban Missile Crisis, which were really serious threats, in the chance of an exchange of nuclear missiles was not as low as we would have liked it to be. I mean, it was historically high. It was very dangerous. There's nothing like that today. The threat of terrorism or cyber attacks is sort of ever present, but it occurs with some frequency, and we don't have cataclysmic results. We have tragic results, but not the sort we had to worry about at the start of the Cold War, not the sort we had to worry about if we lost World War II, not the kind of thing that European powers experienced, like France experienced as a result of losing or even fighting in the world wars, which even the victors lost generations or large chunks of generations and suffered enormous economic loss. We don't face any sort of threat like that today.